You on camera?
I gotta get your video. Yo, dog.
Here it is, Wayne right here.
Well, live. This is Dr. Uniform.
Yeah, you just leave it first there.
There's little cubbies. You can, you're gonna put on shoe covers
Oh.
first. Before you swing over, you're gonna be entering a very clean area. And we're gonna do our best to keep it that way. We've got your jackets here. So once you put your shoe covers on, if you would, go ahead and swing your feet over to the other side and finish getting dressed on the other side.
Oh, so did you hear that? You put it on and then you swing to the other side.
You put it on what?
How big is it? I'm 13 also.
I'm a 13 also.
No, they may not make it.
That big GMO feet.
Do you have any of the big shoes?
So do what?
What's that?
The shoe is small.
Well, they're large, but they need an extra large, it looks
And
like.
then we leave our purse here, right?
Purse right there.
If you stretch it, it won't fit. I got 13.
I think you guys are supposed to put it
On
on
the
then
inside?
Oh, well, not electric. Oh,
No way.
Yeah, kho của chị có trồng được không? Nạp ta gì? Thì
You got bigger,
Oh!
Look, it'll work for it.
over the top. Swing on over, grab you a jacket there.
Right.
Got it? Oh, let's do this.
How did you do that? I don't know. I got a PhD. Public hospital diploma.
Okay. Oh, your booty's coming off.
Hold on.
No, not yours.
Oh, your booty coming off. I did wrong. Left booty. All right. Good. Yeah. Let's all have fun.
I think this one.
Left booty.
I left those, oh my goodness.
I can't fly, so I guess I better.
Alright. Grab you guys a jacket here.
Secret, you can't record anything.
Button there.
Yeah.
Shan. Thank you. Hairnet's over here.
Oh, over there.
Oops.
Where's the hairnet? This thing?
Yep.
Very good.
We have disposables now.
Oh, okay.
Pull it apart, buddy.
So we get when
I
we
put
graduate.
my nose up in it.
Mẹ con nhìn tao có luôn nè.
I looked on the other one.
Mấy luôn
A lot of corporates are not 60,000 square feet.
Again, keep in mind, most corporate are marketing companies, they are not manufacturers. So it makes a huge difference. Most companies just have somebody else make their product. Right? And what makes us unusual is we actually make the raw material for our product. Most companies that do manufacture don't make their own raw material.
Oh.
Yes.
Open it.
Okay, has everybody got a jacket? Everybody's good?
Okay.
Now make sure you look at yourself in the mirror, make sure you like the way you look. If you like the way you look, you're probably doing it wrong.
The button fell off?
Get this thing. Can we get away with this and then LA?
Yeah.
That would be style, yeah. But you just gotta look like
You
it.
gotta pull that one way back now.
LA.
We're in the wrong hood.
Say, what is this? This is the new Kanye West clothing line.
I'm already getting it. Yeah, it's amazing how this little bit of netting or whatever is kind of warm.
You know what?
Probably gonna melt the mushrooms.
Melt the mushroom. Yeah.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Are we close?
This looks like we're going into the surgery room or something.
Yes. Now there's a large portion. There's a large portion of the facility that how we're attired today is not qualified. We're not nearly clean enough to actually go all the way in to where we culture and do some other things. But we'll be able to see most of it from the outside. Everybody ready to go? Paul, you good? All right, here we go. Okay, go ahead, Paul, and grab that door too, if you would, and we'll be on our own little world here. Now, normally when we start the process, there's two steps to the process. There's the first, which is, I mentioned earlier how we take the mushroom and we mix it, or we add it into what we call a nutrient substrate is the word we use. Basically, it's a base of nutrients, whether it be the millet or the rice bran or the things like that. Good vitamin-rich, dense material. We also add to that then the Chinese herbs to give it its function. Well, that process begins before we add the mushroom to the process. So we actually blend and mix all that together to create what I like to call the dirt. In a sense, we're growing mushrooms. The difference is we're growing them under laboratory conditions. And so rather than planting them out here in the back field, or get them in the wild, which most mushroom is actually grown in the wild and harvested, which means it either has a lot or a little. It doesn't necessarily know how strong or how potent each mushroom is. And you're basically, whatever it's growing on or around, that's what it's bringing in. What we're able to do is strategically, specifically put exactly into the finished product, exactly what we want into that mushroom. In addition, what makes the lion's mane unique is that it's able to maintain its natural properties while it also takes on the properties of the growing medium, the dirt. So what's in the dirt is now in the mushroom. It's a really cool process. So we begin in here and we actually do the mixing and the blending. You'll see some of the bottling that we use to actually mix our patent pending. We've got a patent pending on the container that we use to actually culture and actually grow the mushroom. Okay. And so normally this would be full as we're going through the process. Right now, we've got more than we need, so you'll see some of the end results. We don't have a lot of it growing right now. That's why we need you guys here. The more you sell, the more we get to grow, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Where are the aliens?
Assembly line, right here, right here.
So you can see,
Incubating.
this is the container that we have developed to grow this. It's got air that can get into it on the top and on the bottom. And basically this is going to be full of the nutrient-dense material that we talked about, the substrate. So it'll fill up and it'll be all brown through there, and then by hand, we'll meticulously place that Xipei strain of the lion's mane mushroom. And that original strain was actually discovered over in the early 80s, around 1983, over in central China, in the mountains over there. It's a very rare strain of that mushroom. And once that's in, it's container, it's closed in, and it'll go back, and you'll see where we actually let them develop and grow. And so once we go through the process, once the bottles are emptied, there's a process that it goes through to actually take all of the mushroom once it's been grown. It's called bottle digging. We literally dig out the bottles, and there's a machine that does the bottle digging, and then once that's done, the bottles are then deposited out here. When the workers are working in there, they're going to go through this is. It's an air shower. Basically, it's another cleansing level before they get to the next level and put on the different clothing that they'll use once they're inside the production facility. So some of you guys may remember how it was before. Right. Well, this was a bottling room. We had a bottling room here. This was at pill and production rooms and such. But now this is a different kind of bottling room. So basically, this process, we have two sides of it depending on how large of a batch that we're going to make. So we'll take the actual, what we would call the raw material, whether that be, once again, the nutrient substrate and the functional substrate. Those will actually go into this ribbon blender. And they'll just blend them all together, mix all that dirt together. It's then actually augered up to the top. And those bottles that I just showed you are actually on this line. And so they're filled, and then the lids and everything are all put on automatically here. And then they'll be taken to where we're going to place the strains in. As you can see, there's other rooms on the inside where we do a lot of the bottle digging and the pulling out of the mushroom as well. Now, once that's done, these machines here, these are, depending on the size, this is small, large batch. It actually goes from here into there, and that's how the material gets into our clean areas. So we don't just drive it in there. It actually comes through these processes, which cleans it, purifies it, makes sure it's good before we actually get it back into the area. Remember, the company that founded and developed all of this in China is a pharmaceutical company. So they're used to operating with drug-like processes rather than nutritional supplement processes. Now, some of you may not know that there's a difference, but there's a significant difference in terms of the level of cleanliness and the regulation around a pharmaceutical product and a dietary or a nutritional supplement vitamin. So in this area here, you can kind of see some. This is one of those areas where I'm not really allowed, because I'm not qualified apparently to go in those areas. But this is where we actually do a lot of the culturing, the transferring. Basically, the culturing process is where we take it out of that, we take and actually put the mushroom into the container. And then it'll go for where it's actually going to grow, okay? And so a lot of these processes are duplicated so that you have 2 or 3, 4 different rooms doing basically the same thing. So we have a lot of space back here. Nate was asking me earlier, how big is this facility? It's just over 60,000 square feet of total space inside the facility. That does include the front, which takes up, I'm thinking, around 6,000 of that square footage is up front. So the bulk of it's back here in the warehouse.
We'd be lost, right?
I'm lost now.
I've been here before. I've been here too.
Now remember, we were just on this other wall a moment ago, and you had those big, large stainless steel, looks like a safe, right? Maybe store some money or something in there. Well, you said this is the rear sterilization room. The other is the front sterilization room. And so as I mentioned, when it comes through the little safe door on the other side, when it gets on this side, the material has been sterilized. And that's a necessary process that we put that through to make sure we eliminate any bad things, any contaminants, anything that we don't want to be in that raw material product. So once that's done, the next step in the process is the actual placing. So inside of those containers, there'll be someone, and they do it by hand. We do all of this process by hand. So we'll actually take each one of those containers and we'll literally place a small strain of the lion's mane mushroom. One of the things that makes mushroom so unique is it just literally continues to replicate and replicate and replicate. So you take a little bit of mushroom and put it in the ground, it'll just start doing its thing. And so it's really it's a beautiful, interesting system. We're learning more and more in science about the mushroom. There's a researcher up in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He's doing research right now on a mushroom that will actually eat cancer cells. I just sounded very southern. Cancer cells, not sales. Cells. Eat cancer cells. And so there's a lot of things that are going to come out. The Chinese really believe that this century will be eventually known as the century of the mushroom, because they've known about it for a long, long time. We in the West are just now coming to understand the power of these mushrooms. And what Mr. He has discovered and figured out is how to take, and for a long time, we've not known how to truly build the perfect whole foods. Now we can. And it's been here the whole time. We just didn't know how to do it. Now we figured it out. So you'll place it in that. It'll be placed in there. The containers will be closed up. And now it's ready to go. Let it do its thing. The maturing and the growing process. Watch your step here. We've got a little step up right here. So this is our culturing room. Depending on the time of year, or in this case, depending on our production schedule, this room is either empty or it could be completely filled. Now it takes generally somewhere between 35 and 40 days from the time we put the strain and close the lid to the time that it's ready to be harvested. And so each one of these will be at different phases. Now this is a climate controlled room in here, and as you can see, as you come down here closer, you'll see down here on the left end, look at some of those containers and you'll see that that container is nearly completely white. As you look further down here, you'll see some that are about a third or maybe a quarter to a third white, and the rest of it is dark. It started all dark. The little strain is just a little strain. What's it doing?
Growing.
It's eating.
And growing.
It's eating. It's really not growing. It's eating every bit of it and growing. You're right. It's growing and taking over, and by the end of it, all of that dirt that we call it, it'll be all gone. Where will it be? It'll be in that mushroom. So that mushroom will literally absorb all of it. The other thing that they're doing with mushrooms also is they're very effective in biospills. So they can put the mushrooms out, whether it be in water or on land, and it eats all the bad. And what does it turn it into? It turns it back into bioavailable material. It's really amazing what these mushrooms are doing. And so in this process, it takes about 30 or 40 days. If we needed to, we can cut that down a little bit. I know some of you are concerned, will you be able to make enough to keep up with how much y'all are going to sell? Trust me, we can keep up with it for a short time. This facility, as it's currently rated, can do somewhere around 100 metric tons a year. They say, well, how much is a metric ton? Well, that's a lot. How much is in a bottle? A little. So it doesn't take a lot. If you think about 300 milligrams of material, let's give you some way of, how can we do this? So 300 milligrams, let's say 1,000 milligrams is 1 gram, right? 1,000 grams is a kilogram. And a kilogram is what, 2.2 pounds, roughly? So a metric ton is 1,000 kilos, which is about 2,000 pounds of material. In each one of our bottles that has 60 capsules, there's 18,000 milligrams. That's 1.8 grams, right? 1.8 grams. How many tons did we say? It's a lot. So the bottom line is, you guys sell it, we'll make more. And if we need to, we'll get a bigger building. Okay? And you can see, there's a lot of room out there that we're not utilizing. Yes, ma'am.
Can you equate say, one of these bottles?
How much it turns into? That's an interesting question that I've attempted to ask, and we still have some challenges between my English and their Chinese and back and forth. Because what you're about to see is, you think, well, all that's in that bottle, that's going to turn into what we use, and that's not it. We haven't stopped yet. So now we're going to take and we're going to reduce what's in those containers even further, get only the goodies that we really want, okay? So we're going to go through the extraction plant, and that's what's next.
Watch your step. Step down. Step down.
Now when I was in China, Mr. He has about 10 of these over in his Chinese facility, because this is a lot of what they do is extractions. One of the things you need to understand about nutrition is that, think about this, if you're growing a garden, any of you have a garden? So you grow in a garden, maybe grow some corn, some beans, different things. How much nutritional value is in each one of those? Is it the same? Well, it depends on how the sun is, how the rain was this year, the quality of the ground that you grew it in. That can change. In one year you could have a really good nutritional crop, but now the beans may be the same, but what's in them may not be. So for us to have a consistent nutritional product, the only way we can get there is if we use extracts. Because that way we know that every time we put, let's say, milligrams of this material, 20% of it is what we want. So have anybody ever heard of tomatoes and lycopenes that are good for your prostate? Well, the lycopenes are what we want. We don't just want the tomatoes, we want the lycopenes. So anytime you buy a product that has that in there, it'll always tell you what the extract is. And so this is how you extract. So bottom line is, this is a cold extraction plant. And the cool thing about it is that one of the challenges with live product is we don't want to lose the natural ability of that product, the enzymes and the other things that are in there. Heat will kill them. But did you know that in a vacuum, that with lower heat you can produce steam. It doesn't require the same level of heat. So in a cold extraction process, we actually use steam and other things to remove the stuff from the mushroom. We say, well, what do you want to remove from the mushroom? Basically things that don't have any real nutritional value. There's certain things that we really want. We want our polysaccharide counts to be high. We want our cellulase, depending on which version we're talking about. So each one of those can be different. Our proteins, these are our cellulase. These are things that we're going to be looking at and that we're going to test for to make sure that we have everything in it that we want. So it's going to be done going through 3 steps in this process, and each time we're going to refine it further and further and further. If you've ever had any experience in mining, it's just what we would do in mining, which is concentrate the minerals or the gold or the platinum or the value that's in there. So when we're done, what started out, let's say, as a ton of material, at the end may only be 100 pounds. But that 100 pounds is dense and full of all the active stuff that we really want, okay? So to go back to your question, there's not a whole lot that's left in those bottles at the end of the process, so it takes a lot of those bottles for us to make ultimately what comes out. But the good news is once we put it through this extraction process, and then we're gonna go and we'll show you the freeze drying in a minute, what we've got now is we've got the exact elements inside of each version of our lion's mane that we make, okay? And this is very unique because we actually are making the raw material that we sell, whereas most companies would buy the raw material for someone like us and then turn around and sell it. So this is very unique. This is our freeze drying room. Is Paul in here? Yeah, Paul. Yeah, every time I see this, I think of a power plant in a submarine or a ship or something. This is about a $500,000 piece of equipment, and what this does is this basically allows us to freeze dry the material. And what that does is it allows us to do it cold, to remove all the water, because we're putting it through a water filtration system through that is what we do in the extraction. And so it allows us to remove all that water. We dry it, but we don't dry it with heat, we dry it with cold. And that cold is actually, if you know, in the wintertime, you know, you guys up in Wisconsin, you always have to put lip balm on and stuff on your skin because the cold really dries you out. Well, we use that process there. And once that is done, it's going to come out of there. We're going to remove it from the freeze dryer there, and it's going to go into the containers. And now it's ready for, basically, it's going to be ready for our lab system. Every batch that we produce gets tested for both composition and purity. So if it doesn't meet up to the level of what we need for that particular product, unfortunately, it gets rejected, and there's really nothing we can do to fix that. So in a nutritional program, if your finished product doesn't have what you need in it, you just go and you grind up the vitamins or the pills or whatever, and you add a little bit more in and you remake them. And so you really don't lose anything. But in this process, if it doesn't turn out, we actually have to lose that batch. It doesn't do us any good. The good news is we have some of the best, most fertile soil right back here that you could ever want to grow anything in. So
is that where it goes?
No, I'm kidding. No, we actually have a disposal process. We used to do that. My father used to take, you have a dust collection system that would pick up any dust from making our products. And so my father would take the barrel of all that out to his garden and dump it out there, and his tomatoes were humongous. Well, we have the lab that does a lot of the work here. That's one of the things that Joe, I don't know if you guys met Joe. I won't tell you his Chinese name because I can't pronounce him, so we call him Joe. Joe Zhao. But anyway, Joe, he's over the quality control processes here. But we also outsource and we send out to an independent lab all of our batches to make sure that not only do we test them internally, but then they get tested out externally as well to make sure it has everything in it that we're looking for. As you can see, we have a little room to expand. They can, you know, it's interesting.
Wow.
When Mr. He came out here, I don't know if you guys remember about 3 or 4 years ago. What year is this? It's 2014. There was a Category 5 tornado that came through central Arkansas. Did a lot of damage. And it came through about 5 miles east of here. So it came very, very close to here. But we actually, at the time, we weren't utilizing much of the facility. And so we were able to give it to the Red Cross to use as a staging area for all they had about 200 or 300 people came in from all over the country. They have all these What the Red Cross does, I didn't realize, is they actually coordinate for a ton of other relief agencies. And so we had all these relief agencies from all over the country that came in to help out.
It's bigger than Ghana's.
So once we're done, the bottles are cleaned and recycled, ready to use again for the next batch. They're all sterilized and they're ready to go for our next batch. And so that, in a sense, is how mushrooms are made.